Hey guys, my name is Scoby and welcome back to another video. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to play PlayStation 1 games on your Xbox Series S or your Xbox Series X. This is going to be a nice quick and easy tutorial. I'm going to be showing you step by step how to do everything. Let's jump right into this. So firstly, I'd like to apologize for how my voice sounds, and some of the clips in the video will be from older videos where I sound less sick. I needed to record some videos today, so sadly this is the best I can do. Hopefully it's not too annoying and you can deal with it, but I still want to create content for you guys. So the first thing I need to mention before we get too far in today's video, you're already going to need to have both dev mode and Retroarch already set up and installed on your Xbox Series S or your Xbox Series X. That's not something I'm going to be showing you in today's video, although I will be leaving a link in the description down below and a card on screen to my previous video where I show you step by step how to do that. You'll need to go back and watch that and set all that up first. Then you can come back here and I'm going to be specifically showing you how to set up and play PS1 games on your Xbox. Now I will also mention we're going to be using the most up-to-date version of Retroarch and dev mode as of November 2021, and we will no longer be using My Files Explorer. Everything will be done using a mapped network drive. So if you've referred to my Retroarch install guide, you will already have a mapped network drive set up. However, I'm going to be showing you that in the next step. So if you already have a mapped network drive, feel free to skip this part. Let's set up a mapped network drive for your Xbox. Now I will mention for this mapped network drive, if you have already watched my most up-to-date video of setting up Retroarch, I did show how to do that there. Although if you didn't set that up previously, I will be showing it step by step. You can feel free to skip this step and just jump over to transferring files over. So the first thing again we need to do is open up our Xbox device portal. This of course can be found on the dashboard of our dev mode. You can find this access portal and we're going to need to open this up in any browser that you want. From this point what we're going to be doing is coming to our left bar right here. We're going to be clicking on File Explorer and this is going to open up the File Explorer section. Once we're here we're going to be coming to the top right and we're going to be clicking on this Browse option right here. This is going to open up a pop-up that's going to allow us to access remotely some files on our Xbox and access the internal storage on our Xbox. So to do this, what we need to do is copy this URL here at the very top. We can highlight it, we can right click and we can click copy. And we're going to be opening up a file explorer on our Windows. We're going to be clicking on the URL path right here. We're going to be pasting in the URL that we just got. And we're going to be clicking enter to enter here. Now, if this is your first time doing this, it may ask you for a username and password. All of this information is also stored here, so you can simply copy all of this for your username and password. Now this can get a little bit annoying as every time you want to get back here, you will need to manually enter this URL, you'll need to manually enter the password, and you'll need to manually enter the username. So instead what we're going to be doing is two things. The first thing we're going to be doing is opening up our command prompt, and we're going to be automatically saving this password and username so we no longer have to enter it manually again. To do this again, we're going to be opening up our web browser and we're going to be copying this CMD key here at the bottom. Simply going to highlight it, we're going to right click and we're going to be clicking copy. From this point, we're going to be opening up CMD in Windows. To do this, we're going to be coming down to the bottom left. We're going to be clicking on our search bar and we're going to be searching for CMD. And we're going to be looking for the command prompt right here. We're going to left click to open this up and our command prompt should open. Once this is open, all we need to do is right click here. It will automatically paste everything we have. We simply click enter and then we should get this result here, credential added successfully. And that basically attaches this username and password to our Windows, so it'll automatically remember it every time. From this point, we have made it a lot easier. However, now from this point, you still need to know this URL every time you want to actually access the remote files. So what we're going to be doing is one extra step. This is optional, but we're going to be setting up a mapped network drive. So it'll actually be saved in our Windows so we can easily get back here whenever we want. What we're going to be doing again is copying this file path. We're going to be opening up another file browser in Windows and we're going to be clicking on this PC right here. And then here at the very top, we should have this option, Map Network Drive. We can left click to open this. And here we're going to be able to enter a new drive that will automatically store this location. And since we've already saved the username and password in Windows, it means we'll really easily be able to access back here whenever we want. So the first thing you need to do is assign a drive letter. So you can choose whatever you want here. So I've already done this to my Z drive, but you can attach it to another drive, for example, Y, or any other available letter here in your Windows. We can then enter our folder location. So here you can just Control V again to paste in the folder location that you've set up previously. You can then enable automatic reconnect and sign in. I'm going to be disabling this, but you can feel free to enable this and you can connect using different credentials, although we're not going to be doing that in today's video. Once you're happy with everything here, you can click finish and then you will have a new mapped network drive that will show up here like this. It'll mention development files. It will then show the URL to your Xbox and now clicking this will open this up very easily. So we no longer have to locate back here manually. From this point, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be opening up the Windows apps folder and here we should see all the currently installed apps on our Xbox.
So at the top here we have my Files Explorer. Underneath this then I have two folders named Platinum Fox, and they have Retroarch mentioned in the title. This is my Retroarch folder, although depending on the version you're using it may be named slightly different, but there will be two folders here. Previously this folder started with 1E4C, although this can depend widely depending on the version you're using and depending on if it's a nightly or not, so I really don't know what to expect here. But you're going to be looking for some folder named Retroarch or something like 1E4C. Once you've located this folder, we're going to be looking for the second one on the list. It'll typically be a much larger folder. As you can see, this is around 1.4 gigabytes and the other one is around 3.5 kilobytes. We're going to be opening up this second folder, and here we should see all of our default installed Retroarch content. What we're going to be doing from this point is creating a new folder here that's going to store our BIOS files, or a brand new system folder, or creating a brand new system BIOS folder so we can access and transfer all of the BIOS files we need for our emulators over here, or for today's video specifically the GBA emulator. What we need to do is right click here. We're going to be creating a new folder, and I'm going to be naming it System. And this is going to be our new system or BIOS folder for Retroarch. After this, we're going to be heading over to Retroarch and we're going to be manually mapping this so Retroarch knows to point here instead. While we're here, we can also add a couple of extra folders. We can add a saves folder, we can add a save state folder, we can add a config folder, and we can even add a games folder. Here you can pick and choose all of the different files that you will access regularly from Retroarch, and we can remap them so Retroarch will look here instead of on the internal Xbox storage that we cannot actually access any other way. Doing this method, we will easily be able to access this. We can make backups, we can make copies. So this is definitely a method I'd recommend doing it. But for today's video, the only one that is necessary is creating a system folder, although you can feel free to make any of the other folders here as well that you like, but it is totally optional. From this point, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be launching Retroarch from here, and we're going to be brought up to our Retroarch UI. From here, we're going to be coming to the left, we're going to be coming to settings, and now we're going to be scrolling down until we see directory. And here we can see the directory for all the different assets inside Retroarch. So the first thing we're going to be looking for is the BIOS and system file, as you can see right here. We're going to be clicking the A button to open this up. Once this opens up, we're going to be scrolling down until we see the S drive. We're going to be clicking the A button. We're going to be scrolling down to program files. We're going to be coming to Windows apps, and then we're going to be looking for our Retroarch folder, the same one that we've seen on our computer. So for me, it's Platinum Fox. I'm going to be looking for the second folder, and here I'm going to be looking for my system folder. I'm going to be clicking use this directory, and now what we've done is we have remapped this directory to our system folder on our mapped network drive. So Retroarch will now search there for our BIOS files instead of the default location. So from this point, you can feel free to update any of the other files you want. I'm going to be doing my config file, my save file, and a couple of the other ones. From this point, once you have everything mapped, we're simply going to be clicking the B button to come back out of here. We're then going to be coming to our main menu, and we're going to be coming to our configuration file, and we're going to be saving our current config, just so all of these extra changes are in Retroarch.
What we're going to be doing first is talking about our system BIOS file. So sadly, we're going to be needing a system PS1 BIOS for our Xbox to actually be able to play PS1 games. So what we're going to be doing is locating to our system folder here inside of our Retroarch folder that we have previously created, and we're going to be adding our PlayStation 1 BIOS. So I have my PS1 BIOS here, and it needs to be named exactly like this, scph5501.bin. I'll leave some extra documentation linked in the description down below. I'll also mention I'm not going to be showing you in today's video where to download this. You will need to find your own or dump your existing PlayStation 1 BIOS. Again, you'll have to Google search for that. I'm not going to be showing you that in today's video. Once you have your PlayStation 1 BIOS file, what we're going to be doing is simply dragging and dropping it into the system folder on our Xbox, and we're going to be leaving it here just like that. The next thing we're going to be doing is talking about games, and I'll mention a couple of things with games. The first thing I will mention is, again, I'm not going to be showing you where to download games in today's video. If you want to download any of your own games, you can feel free to do that online. Otherwise, you can feel free to make a dump or backup of any physical games you actually have. The second thing to keep in mind is game formats. So PS1 games can typically come in two different formats. One is a .iso or a disk image format. Sadly, none of my games are in this format right now. And the second is a .bin and a .q file format, as you can see I have right here. So either of these formats will work fine. Either a .iso or a combination of a .bin and a .q file will be possible to play on the PlayStation 1. Now all of my games are currently extracted, but it is possible that your games come in a .7zip or a .rar format. If they do come in either of these formats, something like this, as you can see I have Jackie Chan Stunt Master here in a .7zip file, we can really easily extract it by simply right clicking, hovering over 7zip or WinRAR if you're using WinRAR. We can simply click extract files, and we'll be able to extract the contents of this file anywhere we want, and then we should get our files nested inside. From this point, we have two ways of playing PlayStation 1 games on our Xbox. One is from an external drive, where we can locate to it a little bit later in Retroarch, or the second option is bringing it to the internal storage on our Xbox inside of our games folder, or anywhere you want here is also fine. For me, I typically play them from the external drive. As long as you have a USB 3 external drive, loading times are typically fine, and the games aren't too big for PlayStation 1, so it doesn't typically take too long. But if you do have some internal storage, I would always recommend putting it on the internal storage. It's a little bit nicer to do there. But for today's video, I'm going to be continuing using an external drive. So all you need to do is transfer these files to an external drive. We're going to be bringing them over to our Xbox, and I'm going to be continuing from there.
So now that we're over on our Xbox, I will mention if you are using an external drive like me, you might get this pop-up on screen when you first connect it to your Xbox. If this is your first time plugging in your drive, you might get this pop-up asking if you'd like to use it for Xbox game storage or media storage. It's really important here that you select media storage so we can add whatever files we want on here. Otherwise, if you select game storage, it will fully wipe your drive and only allow you to install Xbox games on this. So it's important that you make sure this is entered correctly. However, some people have had issue with Retroarch and with the latest version of dev mode. I would make sure your drive is formatted in an exFAT format. I've read this can help with some issues. So inside Windows, all you need to do is right click your drive. You can click Format, and during the formatting process, just make sure to select exFAT like you can see on screen. And hopefully doing this should make your drive readable and having no issues inside Retroarch. But this is something to keep in mind.
From this point, we're going to be launching Retroarch. Once Retroarch opens up, the first thing we're going to be doing is clicking the load core option here at the very top. We're going to be scrolling down until we see Sony, and we're going to be looking for Sony-PlayStation, and here we'll have a couple of different options. For today's video, I'm going to be using PCSX Rearmed, although you can feel free to also try BealPSX, DuckStation or SwanStation. These are all other good options, but for today's video, I'm just going to be using a PCSX. From this point, once your core is selected, we're going to be clicking down one, we're going to be clicking load content, and here we're going to be locating to where our games are. So if you're like me and you're going to be locating your games on an external drive, it's going to be inside your E folder. You can simply locate to where your games are. Otherwise, if you're moved into the internal storage on your Xbox, they're going to be inside your S folder, inside program files, inside Windows apps, and then here you can just find your Retroarch folder that we located to previously, and here you can locate your games. So for me, I'm going to be going back to my external drive. Once you've found your game, you can either load up the .bin or the .q file. Either should load up just fine. So for today's video, I'm just going to be using the .bin file. You're then going to have to select the core to use this. Again, since we have our current core selected here at the very top, we can just click the A button again. Our screen is going to go black for a couple of seconds. Our game is going to load, and just like that, we'll be able to play PlayStation 1 games on your Xbox. Now with the Xbox, most of these games will perform really well, so we won't have too many issues. From this point, if you would like to open up your menu, you can press your menu combination right now. For me, it's down and select, and we're going to be opening up our menu. From this point, we're going to be scrolling down until we see the options tab. We're going to be clicking the A button to open this up. And here we're going to have some options specifically for our PS1 core that we're going to be taking a look at. We're not going to be taking a look at every single one, but we're going to be taking a look at some of the key options here just to see exactly what we're working with. First thing we have is the frame skip options. I'm going to be leaving this at 0, but you can feel free to play around with this if you'd like. Use BIOS is on auto, region is also on auto, but if you'd like to change either of these, you can feel free to come in here. I've had no issues with auto, but if you need to manually select NTSC or PAL, feel free to come in here and take a look at that. You can enable a second memory card, which will be shared amongst all games, which is a nice option if you're going to be using that. You can enable a multi-tap if you're going to be playing with more than 4 people. This will require a restart to come into an effect, but it is a nice option here. You can select it in port 1, port 2, or ports 1 and 2, so it's a nice option to have. You can enable vibration, so you can turn this on and off for your controller. You can display the internal FPS if you'd like to monitor the FPS of your games. This is a nice option to have as well. This can require a restart to come into an effect. And we have a couple of other options here. For the most part, I don't really recommend playing with any of the other ones unless you're looking for something specific, but it is nice to have all these options here as well. The last thing I'd recommend doing is creating a game playlist, which is going to put all of our games into one section so we can easily select them. This is a great thing, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of different cores and a lot of different consoles. It makes selecting and finding your games a lot easier, so you don't need to manually search for them every time. I'm not going to be showing you that in today's video, although we will be leaving a card on screen to my previous video. You can go check that out. It's definitely something I'd recommend doing. I want to take this moment to give a huge shout out to the channel members, Sean Daly and Joshua Davis. Thank you guys so much. If you want to have your name shout out in future videos or some other perks, be sure to click the join button on any video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It would really help me out. Anyway guys, it's as easy as that to play PlayStation 1 games on your Xbox Series S or your Xbox Series X. If you guys enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like. Subscribe if you're new, check out the other videos on the channel. If you want to support me, dropping super thanks to this video would really help me out. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, as always, keep it saucy. Peace.